Hello, and we're going into our first battle now. This battle is on Airfield, and this is what I had in the mouse. I did play quite a few games in the mouse, but I just wasn't really able to get a good battle. But this is sort of one of the best ones that I did have, and I think this shows sort of perfectly sort of what the mouse is and how it sort of stacks up against other tanks. We are going to be having a bit of a duel with the 60 TP, and again you're going to be seeing how this thing sort of handles itself against heat, which, spoilers, it doesn't handle itself very well. So what do I think about the mouse firstly? I think the mouse is a very, very fun tank, but I don't think it's competitive. In a hold down meta that we have now with some of the well, very boring maps, let's just say, the 1 pixel boring ass maps, which is unfortunately what this map is. They have done some really good changes. As you can see, we're heading over to the heavy line, and they have done some amazing changes there, made it a lot more fun, but it's still nowhere near a fun map to play. As you can see, as you're going to see, there's a lot of situations where we're going to be trying to fight tanks that are just showing their turrets, and that means we're not going to be able to come around the corner because this thing is not a hold down tank. It's one of those tanks that, yes, it's the most armoured in the game, but all the armour is in really small sort of places. The lower plate is quite a big target. Yes, you can angle it and bounce shots, but it's just not that great, to be honest. The turret sort of the sides of a lot of armour, and so does the front as well, but it's all flat. So again, heat's just going to go right through, and I found it very frustrating, but also very enjoyable playing this tank, because you can either really win when you're against people that don't know how to take this tank on, or free-to-play players, or you can really lose. So going around the corner here, we've reached the heavy line finally. Again, this tank is the heaviest tank in the game, so it's going to take a hell of a long time on any map, really, despite how small they are, to sort of get into position. So we're here now, we're just having a look as to what's going around the corner there. We don't want to overcommit, we're already 1 up, so we don't need to do anything drastic just yet. Basically just having a look, as you can see, STRV, or the STK, whatever it is, that tier 9 one, comes around the corner. Can we get a shot in there? He hangs around a little bit too long, and yes, we can. Lovely little bit of free shot there. Free bit of damage into the tier 9 Swedish heavy tank, which is always lovely. Always take a bit of free damage there. So we're just sort of poking around this corner, trying to have a little look as to what we can get up to here. And this is where you're going to start to see the heat spam coming along, and this tank just does not get on well with it. Lower plate, unfortunately, a bounce. It was at an angle, to be fair to the VZ. So that's probably why we didn't get through there. I'm not too happy about that. I'm sort of just like, oh no, really? But yeah, as you can see, we do have some TDs at the back, sort of trying to get this 60 TP, but just digging them out is just so hard. And as you can see, I don't really want to commit around the corner because he's side scraping, and he's also sort of just showing his turret, really. And yes, it does have cupolas on it, but when your whole entire turret is like a weak 60 TP cupola, it's not something that you really want to come around and expose. So I'm just going back and forth here, trying to see what we can get. The Lorraine seems to be peaking a little bit, but unfortunately he goes away. 60 TP, it does have a weakness on the side. Can we get it? No, unfortunately not. I was a bit disappointed about that shot as well. As you can see, it was green, but unfortunately this gun, while it is nice and accurate, it does tend to troll you quite a lot sometimes, which is not really ideal for a German gun. BZ, oh, 1 shot in, our 60TP blocks him. We don't get through the 60TP. Luckily, we block the last VZ shell, however, and we back away just before the 60TP can manage to get to us there. Oh, SDRP managed to get a shot into him. He also manages to get us, but we do have sort of higher damage per shot than him, so that's absolutely fine. I'm willing to do that trade. And yeah, so we're on the corner, just sort of going back and forth. As you see, not really over committing. Where this tank is quite slow, of course, if you do overcommit, it's going to take a hell of a long time to get out of a situation. You are going to die. With the turret as well, I'm kind of coming out a bit with the turret, not exactly face towards them, but kind of facing the rock, and that's just because you can actually, with this, the sort of the squarish sort of shape of the turret, as you can see, yeah, what I'm doing here, you can kind of angle it so it doesn't come a weak point. And the lower plate, because I'm literally just going out like that, it's at too high of an angle for them to pen, even with heat, I believe. Not that they try it. And the tracks on this thing are really good. They do absorb a lot of that sort of heat pen there. And I have had some good experiences with the tracks sort of absorbing quite a lot of damage, which has been absolutely brilliant. But as you can see, this isn't a tank that you can make push plays in. This VZ is going to get a bit more aggressive soon. And he kind of holds the cards in this situation, him and the VZ. There's not really much I can do to them. Again, as soon as I... Oh, there we go, STRVK. Can I get a shot on him? No, I cannot. Yep, 60 TP gets me. And again, that was still... I wasn't perfectly angled then by any means. But, you know, it was still a pretty steep angle that I had that plate at. But unfortunately, still just manages to get through, and that's just where the outrageous sort of heat pen of that the 60 TP really just overmatches this thing, and it goes through me again, and he's not having any issues going through me there. So 60 TPs, E100s with the big gun, yeah, they're a real threat to this tank. And it just, yeah, as I said, it's a fun tank to play because it's quite sort of unusual. In sort of how it can bounce shells and sort of how aggressive you can be, and obviously it's got the largest sort of amount of hit points as well, even larger than the the tier 10 Japanese one. I think it's like the T5 heavy or whatever, the Type 5 heavy, that's it. But I mean, once it sort of loses that hit point advantage and we're kind of on par with the 60 TP here, it kind of just becomes a big target. with I mean, yeah, he's got a lot of armor, but you know, he's not going to be shooting at my armor, he's going to be shooting at the plates without the armor on, so you know, it doesn't necessarily matter. But I mean, yeah, as I said, it is a fun tank, but again, not competitive. So you know, when you do play this thing, do try and look at it more of a, you're playing it for fun and just for the memes kind of standpoint, rather than, you know, I want to mark it, I want to have, you know, 10k damage combined for 3 games in a row in this thing, because you will be sorely disappointed. Things like the 279 as well rip this thing apart. The standard AP pen of 249 is really not great. So you'll see me here. Can I get another APCR shell through? No, I can't, unfortunately. That one, I think, ricocheted off the lower plate into the dust. I think so. Because I did hit him, but then there was also a sort of a bloom of dust and things underneath the tank, so I reckon that's what happened there. But yes, so you are going to have to do, again, come on, like, that was quite unlucky there. But I mean, yeah, you are going to have to spam quite a lot of gold with the mouse, just because it is one of those lower pen tanks where, I mean, it has been shown some love with some updates, but it does need another one, I do feel. Yeah, you're just getting outclassed by most things that you don't have a hit point advantage over. So basically anything towards the middle end of the game where you've had a chance to lose those hit points, you just then kind of lose your advantage. But we're in a tricky situation here. The game is 8-10 with 2 tanks down, and as you can see, the 60 TP is starting to push me, so I'm falling back now. Can we get a shot into him? He suspects that we don't fall back, but we do get a shot into him. And can we bounce it? Yes, we can indeed. So as you can see, the armor does work sometimes. When you put pressure on your opponents, it does kind of work, but there's no time for that because a Sputuk, is that the TVP1, comes around the corner, and now he is behind us. And this is a very high damage per minute tank destroyer here, so this is going to be very, very hard. Oh god, one more shot and we're dead. Please, team, please. Oh, I mean, we were about, you know, half a second away from death there. So a big shout out to the T57 for sort of dealing with that guy there. He definitely saved us in this situation. So we got rid of that tank. We got rid of the 60 TP. So now really we're just waiting for the VZ. And the question is, where is he going to go? He could be coming behind me, or he could be coming in front. But luckily the T57 Heavy is going to push in. He's going to help us out. And I sort of ping the location where I believe the VZ could go. as a possibility, and luckily the T57 does go to sort of cover that area for me. So we are fully kind of hunkered down, if you will, in this kind of defensive location here, waiting for them to push. The game is pretty even at this point. There we go, so the STRVK gets spotted there again. And right now we're just kind of waiting, we're just sort of waiting for the enemies to sort of make a mistake, to sort of try and push up. And this T57 Heavy does not think so, so we are going to go and support him. Obviously one of the more ballsy players compared to me, where I'm more kind of passive. Although I am in a mouse, so you know, screw it, let's go. So I'm going to start making my way through this corridor here, back up a little bit. I thought the cable's going to push, but he doesn't, he stays there. So we're pushing up. Can we take out this VZ? That would be a brilliant tank to get out. I think this is the most popular heavy tank, is it? I think so. T57 having in the way, can we get him? Ah, there we go, lovely, but no. The STRVK sort of shuts us down. So with that battle, as you can see, we were just kind of looking for opportunities. We sort of couldn't really push though, and that's sort of the awkward bit in the mouse, is that as soon as you, because to angle, you can't be looking at your opponents, you can't be having your gun towards your opponents for your armor to work. So either you choose to be protected and you don't do damage to your opponents, or you choose to do damage to your opponents, and if they're firing heat or they just have outlandishly good AP pen or APCR like a Leopard, they'll just go through you and you have no armor. And so it's one of those really awkward things, especially when you have things like an IS-7 that can go hold down, it can, you know, just, and it has no weak point pretty much on the turret. And yeah, you can just farm and farm and farm and farm and farm and you're still strong. But obviously with a mouse you have to make that choice there, and that's really where sort of a lot of skill comes into it. I'm absolute trash with the mouse, I don't really like it. But as a competitive tank, as a fun tank, it is nice. So T57 versus these at the, I can't even read it. I don't know how to enlarge the screen, so I can't even read what that tank is. It's the British tier 8 one. He misses, and this is just where I had a oh my god sort of moment. Like, yeah, I don't know how the T57 messes that up, but fair enough. But no, he was big help at the start of the game. But it's fair to say that we probably have well and truly lost this. But our last standing hope, the 50 TP, is currently on the hill. And as you can see, I'm sort of typing, try and make your way to the cap, because that's kind of where you can defend from. There you go, yeah, he starts making his way to there, but can he make it in time to defend is the real question. I'm pretty sure the last tank on the enemy team is AFK. They've never been spotted, and they haven't been seen, and the only place that our team hasn't looked is in the enemy base, so I'm pretty sure he's AFK. So technically it's a 2v1. So yeah, he's making his way back here. Can he get to there? Because the ELC is precariously close to him. And if the ELC does push, he's going to get spotted and die. He does get spotted. Oh, it's one shot. Two shot. Ah. But no, that was quite a fun battle, to be fair. It's just obviously a bit of a shame that we didn't win that. But yeah, we come out with an alright score, to be honest. So let's have a look at the scoreboard. Let's see how we did sort of compared to the actual team here once that all gets loaded up. So here we go. So 47,792 credits, 806 experience. We come second on experience with the team there. And so yeah, as you can see, the mouse is one of those tanks that is quite sort of fun to play and interesting, where it is sort of the best in terms of hit points. It's technically got the most armor, even though all the armor is pretty much here. You've got a little bit there, but it's just so flat, and there's like no armor here. So it's got armor everywhere else apart from the front, which is where you need it. So yeah, they'll just pen you so easily through the cheeks here and through the lower plate. But it is one of those sort of fun tanks where you just really sort of play. It's a bit like a TOG sort of tank, so you just play it for the for the fun of it, really, and just because it is sort of an iconic tank. I think this is one of the first ones that was ever in World of Tanks for tier 10s. So yeah, it does sort of have a special place in that respect there. But as you can see, the mouse's sort of gameplay is more kind of, in my opinion, it's more kind of reserved. I know there is some people that sort of like to push really aggressively with this tank, but what I have found is that people most of the time know how to pen you, and they're always going to load gold. And when you are in a tier 10 matchup, such as we were, you are against tanks such as the 60 TP that do have exceptional heat pen. You really sort of can't afford just sort of push forward and YOLO, where the maps are so small and hold down as well. There's not really a wide dispersal of enemies. They're usually all pretty close together. So you're pushing into, 4 tanks, and yeah, you're going to die pretty quickly. But yeah, that's the mouse there. Just sort of like a little bit of gameplay for you guys, just sort of explaining how I feel the mouse is, what I feel it's sort of good at, what I feel it isn't. Do I think this thing's competitive? No, definitely not. Do I think it's fun? Yeah, 100%. It is very fun. If you were looking just sort of for like a fun kind of, just not really a sweaty experience of a tank, yeah, the mouse is definitely a good choice. Just be careful of the Malshan though, because the Malshan is somehow the mouse, but even less competitive. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us today for the video. Please do leave a comment, like, subscribe. What tank would you like featured next? And yeah, thank you very much. Bye.